Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the DFS Hockey Report. I am your host, Brock Seguin. As always, joined by my friend Zach Laing. Zach, how you doing on this Tuesday afternoon?
Doing pretty good, man. Pretty exciting slate here tonight. Big Ten gamer. Some really fascinating spots on the slate tonight. Pretty excited for this one, honestly.
Yes, no doubt. Just before we get started, it is my daughter's second birthday, so happy birthday to her. But as a result, I'm going to have to cut this one a little short today. We're headed out for dinner for her birthday. So going to try to get this one in about 45 minutes, which doesn't give us a lot of time to talk about 10 games. So if the pace is a little bit quicker, that is why. Let's get started with the goalies. We got John Gibson going for the Detroit Red Wings, unconfirmed who starts the Boston Bruins as of now. Ilya Sorokin gets a start for the Islanders. It's going to be projected to see Andrei Vasilevsky for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Sam Montembeault for the Montreal Canadiens. It's going to be Linus Ullmark for the Ottawa Senators. Igor Shesterkin gets the start for the New York Rangers. It'll be Casey DeSmith for the Dallas Stars. Sergei Bobrovsky goes for the Florida Panthers. Joseph Wool back between the pipes for the Maple Leafs. Projected to see UC Saros for the Predators. It'll be Devin Cooley for the Calgary Flames. Scott Wedgwood goes for the Colorado Avalanche. Kevin Lankinen will have the fun duty tonight of trying to stop the Colorado Avalanche, who are just destroying everybody in their wake. Stuart Skinner gets to start for the Edmonton Oilers. Who could have been a Edmonton Oiler? Jesper Wallstedt gets the start for the Minnesota Wild. A real look what you could have had moment for the Oilers tonight. Let's see what they can do there. Carter Hart makes his return to the NHL tonight. His first start since, I believe, January of 2024. Spencer Knight likely to start for the Chicago Blackhawks. It's going to be Darcy Kemper likely for the LA Kings. Logan Thompson goes for the Washington Capitals. Zach, we did our head-to-head at the start of yesterday's show to give us some time to break it down, but we probably won't have the time to break it all down at the end of the show. So we'll save head-to-head for the second half of the show. Let's dive right in. I'll take the lead here. I'm wearing my Red Wings sweater. The Red Wings are hosting the Boston Bruins this evening. Pretty stunning. Minus 180 home favorites tonight. Without goalie confirmation, at least from what we've seen so far, it lends me to believe that Jonas Korpisalo might get the start tonight. Like, that feels like the only way that this line makes any sense at all, but we shall see. Jeremy Swayman's been playing unbelievable. These two teams just met over the weekend. The Bruins won in a shootout. Still no David Pastrnak for the Boston Bruins tonight. For the matchups here, pretty good matchups across the board for the Detroit Red Wings. Decent matchups for the Boston Bruins, but the Red Wings have been a really solid 5v5 team. Especially as of late, fourth best 5v5 expected goals for. Decent matchup here, middle of the pack for the Boston Bruins, both kind of middling in terms of the power play production. This was a very low event game over the weekend. I don't anticipate it being significantly higher event tonight. So I probably won't end up with a lot of interest, even though they grade out pretty well in the charts. But Sports Logic data just absolutely is obsessed with Detroit's top line, specifically Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond. They've been spectacular in terms of generating expected goals according to Sports Logic. They, the offensive driving plays, which we like to talk about, which is, puck passes and carries to the slot to generate chances. They're among the best in the league in that regard. And then Emmett Finney is a pretty good passenger at $3,700. He's been coming back on as of late. So they grade as the fourth best line to target tonight. The projections obviously really like them with the high implied total. So I will probably get to a decent amount of Detroit one. That'll probably be the extent of my Detroit ownership. A little bit too expensive on the second line for kind of, not as good of metrics as this top line. They grade out significantly worse in the chart. So Detroit one's going to garner a lot of my interest tonight. Do you just automatically click on Morgan Geekie at this point? Like, he just only scores goals nonstop every day. Can't, just going to shoot 30% forever. With John Gibson getting the start, he's not been nearly as good as Cam Talbot. So I think I will get to a little bit of Boston in this one. It'll probably, come through that geeky line. Steves provides some decent shot volume at $3,100. Decent floor, not Crowley, sorry. Elias Lindholm at $4,200, pretty cheap. So that top line, they don't grade out the best. They've got their hands full tonight. Not the best matchup. They're going to have their hands full with that Larkin line, but Geeky still got there over the weekend, so I think he can again. It's just, it's hard to just ignore what he's done. But Detroit also graded out the second best power play advantage, so most of my interest comes on the Detroit side of the puck tonight. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with you here. 5-on-5, I think Detroit 1 is a great play tonight. I think you can make an argument for, sprinkling in a little Detroit 2 on their own, specifically DeBrincat and Kane. Solid floors as of late for both of these guys. Where my interest really comes in here is through the power play unit. They got the number 2 power play matchup on the entire slate tonight, going up against a Boston team that is undisciplined and not the greatest on the penalty kill either. So fire me up on some Detroit ownership here tonight. Moritz Seider looks like a solid play on the blue line, so long as he doesn't fight Mark Kastelik or actually anybody for that matter. That was really weird over the weekend.
Yeah, that was bizarre. He should not be fighting Mark Haslick. I did not like that one on Twitter. I'm sure you heard about it. I thought it was a real bonehead play by Haslick, just trying to bait him into it, and it worked. And then he just beat the brakes off him, which was super unfortunate for Red Wings fans. So let's break down the Islanders and the Lightning.
Yeah, we got the Islanders hosting the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning are the road favorites here tonight, minus 135 on the money line, 3.2 implied total for them, 2.8 for the Islanders. Tampa Bay 1 looks like they're in a pretty good spot here tonight, grading out as the 4th best line to target on this slate overall. Islanders second line coming in 11th, Islanders top line coming in 24th, and Tampa 2 coming in down there at 37th overall. I like Tampa 1 tonight. You're going to see it in my head-to-head. I got a little Tampa 1 in there mixed in, so I think they're in a great spot here tonight. Brandon Hagel has been absolutely on fire as of late. Nikita Kucherov holding his own as well. Starting to feel like we're getting a little bit more shot volume from Kucherov as of late here, which is really good to see because it's something that he hasn't been doing a whole lot of this season. This second line I think is pretty interesting as well tonight for the Bolts. Full correlation on the top power play unit, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Nick Paul, and Jake Gensel. I could see myself getting there a little bit here tonight on this second line. I know they don't grade out very well at 37th overall, but that correlation on the top power play unit, along with Darren Radish, is a pretty nice spot here, I think, to kind of attack. The Bolts are coming in with a 13th ranked penalty or power play matchup on the slate tonight, so maybe not the strongest, but the team ranking for the Islanders penalty kill has not been great, even if they are killing off 81.6% of their penalties. On the other side of things tonight, I'm not sure how much I'm going to get to the Islanders here. It feels like a tough spot. Tampa, it feels like they're playing really good hockey as of late. I think you can make an argument for that second line coming in 11th overall. On the charts, Anders Lee up there with Matt Barzal and Jonathan Drouin. Continuing to get good shot volume from Anders Lee. Still due to score some goals. 2.1 individual expected goals per hour versus just 0.6 actual goals scored per hour. So I think you could talk me into a little bit of this top 6 here for the Islanders. The nice thing too with the Islanders top line at the very least, you got a salary saving options there for sure. Emil Heineman at $3,200, Max Shabanov at $2,800. I don't hate it from a value perspective. I think that's why the field's kind of getting there a little bit. I'm just not sure if I'll be much higher owned than the field is on this spot. What about you, Brock?
Yeah, I think that this is a really tough spot for the Islanders. I don't think it's an offense that you can play very confidently on in most matchups, and then this one specifically seems tough. Like the numbers don't really bear it out, but the penalty kill has been unreal. The 5v5 metrics for the Lightning are a little bit surprising. I think a lot of that early season data is still kind of lingering. But in their last 7 games, they've outscored opponents 4.3 to 1.4. They've given up 1-1-3-0-1-3-1 goals in their last 7. Like just been stifling defensively. Vasilevsky's playing really well. So I do think it's tough to get to the Islanders. I probably won't get there tonight. I think the one guy that I will look at is Max Shabanov. He's been really starting to come on since coming back from injury. And at $2,800, I think he's one of the better value options tonight, but I still don't know how much I'm going to get to there. I think obviously this top line for the Lightning, like Brandon Hagel, has just been insane lately. Only $6,400 still. Kucherov still only $8,300. I think that that price is still trying to catch up on him. They've been playing really well, so I have no problem getting back to Tampa 1. I thought that they would probably have more ownership than they do, but there are some really good spots on the slate, so it's not totally surprising. But yeah, Tampa hasn't been getting a ton of ownership. Darren Radish has been unreal. He's a game time decision, unclear if he plays, but if he does, that kind of red hot streak for them is probably likely to continue tonight. Let's get to the Montreal Canadiens and the Ottawa Senators. Really not a lot of interest in this game. It's basically a coin flip. Both teams struggling a little bit offensively. The Canadiens pretty good defensively. Both penalty kills have been struggling, but neither power plays really been that solid. So yeah, I just think this is kind of a tough game to get to. The charts agree. The ownership agrees for the most part. Montreal one always seems to draw a little bit of ownership, and that'll be the case again tonight. I think it's fine. But yeah, like nobody really grades out well. I've not played a lot of Montreal this year because I think they've really been fortunate in some of their results so far this season. I think they can certainly win this hockey game. I don't think the Senators are playing particularly great hockey right now either. They've been pretty inconsistent, but yeah, the matchups are a little bit better on the Ottawa side of things. The problem is the underlying metrics for the Ottawa side, not great. And like I said, I think that the Sports Logic team data likes the Canadiens so much defensively that I'll probably just stay away from Ottawa as a whole in this one. So this game, no power play matchup really standing out either. Like I just don't expect this to be much more than like just a 3-2 hockey game where I doubt anybody is super optimal. I think that there are some decent pieces in this game, but it's just probably not one that I get to a whole heck of a lot. How about you?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you too. I think when you just look at it from the charts perspective, I mean, nobody grades out, none of these lines are grading out within the top 25. It's got a low pace score. The matchups are pretty brutal for the Montreal Canadiens, a little bit better on the Senator side of things. The one thing that I will say, the last 8 games between these two teams dating back to the start of the 23-24 season, there's been a lot of offense. Both teams have averaged 3.5 goals per game played. And just looking at the last couple, 4-3 win for the Canadiens, 5-2 for the Senators, 6-3 for the Habs, 5-2 for the Habs, 4-1 for the Habs, 4-4 shootout, 4-1 Ottawa, 6-2 Ottawa. So I think this game has the potential for some fireworks. And I think that's why we're seeing a little bit of ownership coming this way. I might throw 5% of Montreal one just in case here. And I like the idea of maybe throwing 5% as well at that Ottawa top line too. But I think for me, that's going to be about it. Just an interesting little wrinkle there that I noticed.
Yeah, I think that the Montreal side of things, like they've even despite some underwhelming metrics, they've still gotten there, right? Like they still are scoring quite a few goals. I mean, their last handful of games here 3-4-5, 4-4-2, and that 2 came against the Avalanche, who were steamrolling everybody. So besides that, basically scoring 4 goals a game. So the offense is certainly there, and it's not like I think the Senators are gettable. So I think that's why, like, if I was going to play this side, this game, it would be on that Montreal side and probably through Montreal one, especially with Bull Duke helping keep that price tag down at 16,800. Any final thoughts? Are you ready to talk about the Rangers and the Stars?
Yeah, let's talk about this one here. We got the Rangers hosting the Dallas Stars here tonight. Stars come in as the road favorites, minus 118 on the money line, 3.0 implied total for them, 2.8 for the Rangers. This is kind of an interesting game. I mean, the Rangers have been really struggling offensively as of late. The numbers have just not been good for them. And taking a look at the line stats here, it doesn't really seem like a super appealing game, at least upon first glance. The Rangers top line grading out as a number one to target in this game at 14th overall on the slate. Dallas 1, Dallas 2, 23rd and 24th, and that Rangers second line coming in 30th. Pretty rough matchups across the board here, except for the Rangers top line, which still just grades out slightly above average, and a pretty low pace score here for this game as a whole as well. Both teams haven't really been driving a whole lot of offense at 5-on-5 here as of late. But I think the one thing that we got to talk about, as always with the Dallas Stars, is just how good their power play is, man. The number one power play matchup on the slate, and it looks absolutely delicious tonight. Their power play has been tremendous, and the Rangers penalty kill has been absolutely horrible. The Stars are really not drawing a lot of ownership whatsoever here. Rupe Hintz 5%, Jason Robertson 5%, Wyatt Johnson 5%. That's the highest owned guys on this Stars side of the ice. And even Miro Heiskanen coming in, with relatively lower ownership at just 4% as well here. So I think for me, like one spot that I'm going to attack in this game, and probably the only spot, is just going to be through the power play. Mikko Rantanen, Johnson, Heiskanen, Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson, Heiskanen, and call it a day at that. I don't really have any interest in playing this Rangers side of things. They just have really struggled to generate much offensively. Pretty simple to kind of fade the Rangers here and get in on this power play for the Dallas Stars tonight.
100% agree, especially the Rangers at home. The offensive struggles continue. They've only won 2 games on home ice all season. It's been really, really ugly. I think like it was funny and kind of like a joke at the start of the year, but then now it's just like a thing. Like they just cannot score on home ice. But the Dallas Stars power play, like whenever they've even got an average power play matchup, I think it's a good time to fire up the Dallas Stars power play. Like Jason Robertson scored at a 71 goal, 71 assist pace in the month of November. Like it's just unbelievable. stuff from the entire power play unit was over a point per game in the month of November. So they've been scorching hot. They meet a Rangers PK that has struggled. If you take a look at the Sports Logic data, it paints a similar picture. Number 1 power play versus number 31 PK. So yeah, Dallas not getting as much ownership as they probably deserve tonight with that power play matchup. The problem is it feels like they have to score on that power play because the 5v5 play still is suffering a little bit. It grades out, 15th best in the league. So yeah, the power play, it looks to be in just a phenomenal spot. The Florida Panthers will host the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. They are minus 156 home favorites. It's still very hard to figure out who this Maple Leafs team is. They, put up a big number on the weekend. Whether or not that is kind of something that carries over into tonight against the Panthers kind of remains to be seen. But the Panthers shuffling up the lines a little bit tonight. Marchand, Lundell, Reinhart together on that top line. You've got Verhaeghe, Bennett, Boquist on the second line, Greer, Rodriguez, Samoskevich on that third line. The Maple Leafs will stick with Nyes, Matthews, Domi, and then you got Cowan, Tavares, Nylander on the second line. The matchups for this one, much better for the Toronto top line. And much better for the Florida top line as those two get set to go head to head there. Both units struggling a little bit defensively. Toronto 1, not great offensive metrics. A little bit surprising there, which is why Toronto 2 grades out significantly better despite the underwhelming matchup. I don't really picture this game being very high scoring. I think Joseph Woll's played really well. The Maple Leafs offense, I think, is still something that I'm not fully comfortable buying in on, like just jumping right in. Like outside of that game against the Penguins, it's been awful as of late. And the Panthers defensively, they still grade out below average. The penalty kill has been really good, though. So I just don't really think that this is going to be a crazy high-scoring affair, and it's not one that I'm going to target a ton. I think I might play a little bit of Toronto, too. Like, Easton Cowan's playing really well. John Tavares, William Nylander. Price tags are a little bit inflated, so, like, that is going to keep the ownership in check and is part of the reason why I'm a little wishy-washy on playing them. 4-1 with Marchand, Lundell, and Reinhart, I think has to draw some of my interest. Like it feels like the best line they've iced all season. Marchand and Lundell have obviously been great together. This feels like an attempt to get Reinhart going a little bit at $7,100. So I think that if I'm going to play this game with the Maple Leafs defensive struggles, I think it's going to come mostly through Florida 1. I think that Florida 2 with Verhaeghe and Bennett offers a little bit of a solid floor and a decent value option as well. But, with these matchups being pretty solid, with the Maple Leafs kind of still struggling defensively, I think the Florida top 6 is in play for me, and that's the side of this game that I prefer. How about you?
Yeah, I think I agree with you here. Like, I think I'm good with getting on this Panthers side of things tonight. I just don't know how much ownership I'm going to get there with as a whole. I think the value is certainly there in some of these spots. I just don't know, man. Like, Florida's continuously let me down this season. I cannot get them right. And same thing with the Leafs. I mean, they've just been a real struggle this season. I think I'll get some ownership here on this Panther side of things for sure. Sprinkling maybe a little bit on the Leafs side. I just don't know, man. It's tough to kind of get there. One thing that's worth mentioning, looks like a good spot for the Panthers power play tonight, coming in with a third ranked matchup on the entire slate.
Yeah, I think, maybe it's just because he's been so good over the last few years that it doesn't feel like he's been his elite self, but he has. I said get Sam Reinhart going, and there's really not much to get going at $7,100. 17 points in 13 games in November, just a casual 107 point pace. So, the power play in a really good spot as well. The Maple Leafs penalty kill, still killing 80% of the penalties, but boy, they have I believe they have the highest expected goals against on the penalty kill in the last month of the season. It's just been really ugly. So yeah, I really do think this Florida team is maybe a little bit overlooked tonight, but I still don't know if it's going to be a super high scoring affair. What is your take on the Nashville Predators and Calgary Flames?
Another one, I'm not sure if it's going to be a really high scoring affair. We got the Predators hosting the Calgary Flames tonight, minus 117 favorites. Nashville is 3.0 implied total for them, 2.8 for the Calgary Flames. Nashville 1 grading out with the best line in this game here. Stamkos, O'Reilly, Evangelista coming in at 15th overall. Nashville 2 close behind at 20th. And then you got the mess of the Calgary Flames, 21st and 22nd are their top 2 lines here tonight. Solid pace score in this game, 97.6. No matchups that really jump out on the board here. All of them are pretty much average or below average. I don't know. I mean, I think that there's some value options here in this game for sure. There's not a ton of ownership coming in here. I like the idea of getting to some of this Calgary one line. Coronado, Huberdeau, Frost have been solid this year. Especially Coronado, great shot volume from him. Morgan Frost shooting the puck more as of late as well, which is always a good sign for him. The second line beyond Kadri, I just don't know if I can get there a whole lot. I think it's worth mentioning that Farabee has kind of turned a bit of a corner offensively here as of late. And on that note, too, in 8 games played against the Nashville Predators in his career, he's got 4 goals and 9 points. Maybe a little bit of Farabee at $3,600 isn't the worst option tonight. Calgary 3 drawing some ownership at 4.1%. Not sure if I'll get down there tonight or not to them. The Nashville side of things, I mean, this top line has certainly been better as of late here. Ryan O'Reilly, Stamkos, Evangelista have been solid. I think Evangelista is a great pun play at $3,600. Mini stacking him with Nick Blankenberg is certainly a route to go on a regular basis here. Philip Forsberg looks fine on that second line. Just don't know how good I feel about playing guys like Marchessault and Eric Holla with him. So I think I'll get there with a little bit of ownership tonight, but I mean, this feels kind of like a game that's trending a little bit more to the lower scoring side of things for sure.
Yeah, I think when you look at the defensive metrics for both these teams, both within the top 10, then you've got the Flames struggling offensively, really good PK for the Predators. I think the Predators are such an interesting team because I feel like I've been burned by them a lot because on paper they look like better than I think what the on ice product has been. Like analytically, they grade out well, but for some reason it hasn't always translated to the ice. So yeah, I think that this game is certainly lower scoring tonight. I don't expect a ton of fireworks in this one, but I agree wholeheartedly with you. Like Luke Evangelista, I pulled it up while you were chatting, grades out as our 3rd best value forward on the slate tonight in terms of points per thousand. He is number 5 or tied for 3rd. So like he looks really good. He's been, really good in terms of the floor. The floor is solid. The offense has been there. The minutes have been climbing up. And then, yeah, like Nick Blankenberg has just been a guy that we've talked about on the show for 2 years now. And I play him with regularity, and there's just been no reason not to. He's been getting there on a night-to-night basis, never sees any ownership, and grades out as one of the best value defensemen again tonight. So those two, like when you look at it, there's nobody really else in this game that sticks out other than a little bit of Calgary, as great value. It's just kind of those two and then nobody else in this game. And that kind of feels like that's kind of where my interest lies in this game, which is so funny that out of the entire game, I probably only want to play $3,000 players. I will say, on that note, like I do think the Flames can go in and win this game, and Devin Cooley has played extremely well. Like, and he is stealing games from Dustin Wolf right now. I saw somebody on the Daily Faceoff chat say like, why is Dustin Wolf not starting tonight? And somebody's response was, go look at Dustin Wolf's numbers. Now go look at Devin Cooley's numbers. There's your answer. Devin Cooley's 3-2-2 with a 188 goals against average, a 930 save percentage, and a 100% quality start percentage. He has not had a bad game this season. So at $7,600, he's projected to be the highest owned goalie in the slate, but I think he makes a lot of sense in a game that I do think is lower scoring, in a game that I do think the Flames could steal here, despite being, what are they, only plus 106 road dogs. So any final thoughts on maybe Cooley or anything else in this game?
No, let's move it along.
Swayman confirmed to get the start for the Bruins. Thank you, Beebs, just coming in now. The Avalanche and the Canucks. The Avalanche are gargantuan minus 335 home favorites, a 4.1 implied total, a 2.3 implied total for the Canucks. I don't really know what to say about the Colorado Avalanche other than they are just an absolute wagon right now. Like, they are destroying everybody. In their last, so since November 4th, they have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've won 10, 11. They are 11-0-1 in their last 12. During that stretch, they have outscored their opponents. Let me just do some quick math here. They are averaging 4.7 goals per game and giving up 1.7. On average, outscoring the opponent by 3. In a 12-game sample size. Well, like, it's unbelievable. They're insane. Now, tonight, you have a 100% matchup score for Colorado 1. I like it is the perfect storm. The number 1 5v5 offense versus the number 30 defense. You've got the number 1 line in the league right now with a 100% matchup score. The rest of this lineup looks really good too. The offensive metrics are just bonkers good. On a 10-game slate, they almost have a perfect offensive score, which means they're almost the best in every single category. Like, I don't... It feels like an all-you-can-eat buffet here with the Colorado Avalanche, which I just did not click on the right game at all. What game are we even on? 7? Oh, I got so lucky. 11% ownership. Feels far too low. $10,000 Nathan MacKinnon is very expensive. He has to absolutely crush, but he has been doing that more often than not. His 2 line mates, 6,200 and 7,400, very expensive, 73,600 a full stack. I did in my head-to-head build, I built and paired them up with another line that's pretty good. Like, you can still play these guys, and it's not too difficult. Like, obviously, you got to get creative, but you can play these guys. And they look outstanding. I don't really know what to add other than the fact that, like, this is just a good power play matchup, even though the power play is still somewhat shitty, although it's coming to life a little bit. Like, this team is probably going to score at least 5 goals tonight. It's a great matchup. The one other thing I want to get to is Colorado 2 will get Valeri Nichushkin back tonight. He's only $5,300. If you know me, I have been playing a lot of Colorado 2 lately. The one time I didn't play them, Brock Nelson scored like 7 goals, thanks to me. But they're only $15,000, and they are seeing very little ownership tonight. The matchup for them is also outstanding. The underlying metrics for them is also outstanding. Valeri Nichushkin adds a totally new wrinkle to this lineup. They did not run power plays this morning. Gabe Landeskog had been on that top unit. Whether Nichushkin moves up to that top unit and bumps Landeskog off, whether Nichushkin moves up to that top unit and bumps Lehkonen off, 1, 2, some of those things are all possible. Either way, very much interested in Colorado 2 as well tonight. I think they're in a great spot. I think they're a nice pivot option. They are significantly cheaper, and the matchup is just as good. And they can outscore Colorado 1 tonight for sure. So all in on Colorado tonight. I think that there's no reason not to be. The Canucks struggle mightily. There's really nothing to write home about for the Canucks tonight. The matchups are terrible. The underlying metrics are terrible. The implied total is terrible. I'm out on the Canucks. How about you?
Yeah, I really don't have a whole lot to add. Play a lot of Colorado 1. You know, MacKinnon is drawing a lot of that ownership, 21% for him. You know, the other guys on his line, not a lot of ownership, 7.3% for Lehkonen and Marty Netchus, 5.3%. I mean, easy to get over the field on these other guys here in this game tonight. Even a guy like Cale Makar, you know, his ownership at 15%, you can probably get over the field on that. Like, there's enough value on this slate. And I think it's just wild to see 100% matchup score on a 10-game slate. I mean, if we saw that on like a 5-game slate, it'd be like, okay, yeah, makes sense. But to see it on a 10-game slate is pretty crazy to see. So yeah, I'm all in here. I like some of the depth pieces as well. You know, Colorado too, I think they're viable to play for sure. And I don't even mind the idea of sprinkling some Colorado 3. Like, Ross Colton has had tremendous shot volume. Victor Olofsson has had good volume on the season, not necessarily as of late here, but I think all 3 of these lines are certainly live here tonight. So I'll be having a lot of ownership on Colorado tonight. You know, and Vancouver, yeah, I just have no interest in getting there at all.
The chat absolutely loves Colorado 3 as a value option tonight. I think that's fine as well at 11,400. Rebecca says, anything about holding LA to 2 goals the other night? Speaking about the Canucks, no, LA is not very good offensively. They are nowhere near the same caliber of offense as the Colorado Avalanche. So I don't think that it's going to matter all that much. Lincoln is not a bad goalie, but like, mere mortals have been unable to stop the Avalanche this year. It has been a true Avalanche. It worked out nicely. I got to break down the Red Wings. You get to break down the Oilers. Take it away.
Yeah, we got the Edmonton Oilers hosting the Minnesota Wild tonight. Oilers coming in as -144 favorites, 3.4 implied total for them, 2.8 for the Minnesota Wild. Taking a look at the line stacks here in this game, Edmonton 1 grading out as the 6th best line to target overall on the slate tonight. Minnesota 1 not far behind at 8th overall. Minnesota 2 coming in at 13th, and Edmonton 2 coming in at 19th. The Oilers are drawing honestly more ownership than I was kind of expecting them to tonight. They are like Edmonton 1 and 2 are the 9th and 10th highest owned lines on the slate. The pace score is decent in this game here tonight, and the Oilers do have really good matchups. At 5-on-5 here. I mean, for as good as the Minnesota Wild have been as of late on this tear, they're still not playing like great hockey. They're still struggling to a certain extent at driving play at 5-on-5, and their underlying metrics defensively are just absolutely abysmal. They're just getting absolutely bailed out by unbelievable goaltending right now. Jesper Wallsted's going to be getting the start here tonight. Again, obviously a guy the Oilers could have drafted. I don't entirely know what to do here because it feels like, the Oilers played a really good game on Saturday against Seattle. They have not shown an ability to string good games together all season long. This game feels to me like an under. I just don't know if that. I just don't know if anybody in this game is necessarily going to be optimal. This has the feel of like a 3-2 game for me. I don't mind getting to a little bit of Edmonton here. Like I'll be meeting the field on their ownership tonight. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins back at the lineup on Saturday, back on the top power play unit. That is obviously huge for the Oilers as well. He's a guy who touches so many different areas of the ice for this Oilers team. So, the power play matchup isn't great tonight, largely because Minnesota is just incredibly well disciplined here. I just don't know if I'll get over the field here. Feels kind of like a gross game. I also don't mind the idea of getting to a little bit of Minnesota here. These guys have been Oilers killers forever. Kirill Kaprizov, a goal and 14 points in 11 games. Zuccarello, 9 goals, 28 points in 24 games against the Oilers. Matt Boldy, 7 goals, 13 points in 10 games against the Oilers. Eriksson Ek, 8 goals, 15 points in 19 games against the Oilers. I'm going to play a bit of Minnesota here tonight just because of the fact they beat up on the Oilers so much, but I will not be going crazy with ownership in this game.
Yeah, this one's interesting because I do feel like it could go both ways. Like I think that there's certainly a route to where Edmonton maybe carries a little bit of the play, but the Minnesota Wild continue to get phenomenal goaltending from the Wall of St. Paul, and he's just been so good. But you got, I don't know, however many games this is, 7. They gave up 32 shots on goal. They gave up 41 shots on goal. They gave up 37 shots on goal. They gave up 32 shots on goal. They gave up 19 to the Blackhawks. They gave up 45 shots on goal. They gave up 25 shots on goal. They gave up 28. Like, they're, like you said, getting absolutely bailed out, but getting caved in. And I don't care who you are. If you're getting caved in by the Oilers tonight, like, it's not easy to just sit there and give up 35 shots to McDavid and Draisaitl and all the firepower this team has. So I do think that there is an interesting route to go with the Oilers tonight. I'm not saying it's the safest play. I'm not saying if I built one lineup that they would be in it, but I think that they make some sense. And the underlying metrics, I mean, this is the 28th ranked 5v5 defense over the last, over the weighted team ratings, and the Oilers starting to come to life. The only thing that really holds their power play back tonight is the fact that the Wild are very disciplined. Like, I think there's an avenue to where the Oilers win this hockey game and score a handful of goals. Wallsted's been incredible. I'm not selling his accomplishments short, but eventually, like, it comes to an end eventually, right? Like, he's not going to just be the greatest goalie of all time and all of a sudden he's Connor Hellebuck forever. This team is giving up a ton of chances, and the Oilers are more than capable of taking advantage tonight. In the same breath, I think Minnesota is very viable tonight as well. Stuart Skinner is the complete opposite of what you've gotten with Jesper Wallstedt. Like, yes, Skinner has put together some strong performances at times, right? Coming off a good game, stopped all 26 shots. That was against the Seattle Kraken, who don't score on anybody. Before that, it was abysmal. So I think that there's a world in where this game ends up being high scoring and both sides get the job done. Not good defensive metrics on either side here. So I think that it's live for a high scoring shootout. I think like a game stack here is viable, but unpopular. It's just, I don't know how likely it is, but it feels possible.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, I think this does have the feeling of one that could pop off. I don't know. I just don't really have a whole lot of confidence in this Oilers team as a whole. They just need to show it on a more consistent basis before I really buy in. But I'm going to get there with some ownership in this game for sure. Definitely GPP plays.
Yeah, 100%. Just really quick, season long. Should I pick up Josh Norris? Yes, absolutely. If you watch the DFO Fantasy Show, I talked about him last Wednesday. Wanted you to pick him up. I talked about him on Monday. Wanted you to pick him up. I'm actually probably going to talk about him again tomorrow. So, insanely expensive to try to game stack this one. Yeah, it's why it's going to be like you're going to be the only one that does it. Let's get to Vegas and Chicago. Vegas, just a very good hockey team. It doesn't seem like, or doesn't feel like it translates to DFS, right? Like I feel like we've played them a lot, and sometimes it's worked, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's worked okay. Like I feel like they're a real life juggernaut or real life good hockey team. DFS sometimes, just because there's so much scoring depth that it doesn't always translate, and you don't always kind of hit the nail there. But 3.9 implied total, big favorites here against the Blackhawks, who the matchups are really good for the top line, really good for the second line. So Vegas looks to be in a good spot in this one against the Blackhawks team that isn't very good defensively. I think I catch some heat for how little I've played Connor Bedard this season, and he just continues to be insane and defy all logic. It's a horrific matchup tonight, so almost certainly he's going to go off just because I'm not going to play him. It just makes no sense to play him at $8,400. I've said it 100 times, and I've been wrong 99 times, I think, this year. So I'm not going to play him. We'll see what happens. I'm going to continue to fade him. I think this is a game that the Vegas Golden Knights probably win pretty handily. I think the one thing that needs to be talked about is Carter Hart's struggles in the AHL prior to getting called up to this. He hasn't played an NHL game in almost a full year, and it's been bad. Like his AHL numbers were bad. It's 3-game sample size or 4-game sample size. I'm not going to buy all into that, but like there's going to be some definite rust here. No matter how good Vegas is defensively, I do think Chicago is going to score a couple goals tonight. Whether it's enough to be optimal, I don't think so. But if you want a reason to play Chicago, it is Carter Hart's AHL numbers. So I won't play any Carter Hart, that's for sure. But I think Chicago will put a couple past them. You have a couple of these Vegas guys in your head-to-head. A lot of value on this team. It's kind of mixed up among lines, which makes it a little tricky. But like Barbashev 38, Bowman 36, Howden 28. Even some of their secondary pieces like Stone, like Marner, like Hurdle, like Dorofeev, they're not that expensive. It's a pretty easy team to click on, and you can see that the ownership is getting there.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I think that's the reason why I'm kind of clicking on them in the head-to-head tonight. I'm going to get there with some ownership tonight. I'm probably going to try and come in a little bit under the field as a whole here. Again, the biggest issue with this Vegas team is, like you said, the offense is just so spread out. It makes it difficult to really try and nail which one of these lines is going to pop off on any given night. And, it doesn't, really help the fact that they play a pretty equal amount of ice time. I mean, 29% for that second line, 26% for the second, 29% for the top line, 26% for the second line, 25% for that third line. So, with that spread out ice time, with the spread out offense, it does really make it feel difficult to kind of nail down, one specific line. Obviously I do like that top line the most with Eichel and Bowman up there. In the DFO head-to-head, I got a Bowman, Noah Hannafin mini stack, and even a Brett Howden one-off just because I was really needed a sub 3K center, and nobody else looked remotely appetizing. Not that I necessarily love Howden in this spot, but again, the offense is spread out. They're consistent. They're consistently scoring well. I think the one thing that's kind of interesting too is, if you look at just over the last 10 games played, Vegas is only scoring 2.28 goals for per hour of ice time, according to Natural Stat Trick, 10.65 goals for per hour on the power play. They've been solid on the power play, but they're running into a Blackhawks penalty kill that has been pretty solid as of late here. So, they do have the fourth best matchup as a whole still on the man advantage. Chicago's a pretty undisciplined team, shorthanded 3.5 times per game. So I think that's a route you can kind of try and get to as well. But again, Spencer Knight hasn't been terrible this season. Like, he's been a really good goaltender for him. It's worth pointing out he has struggled against Vegas in his career. 4 games played, just 1 win, 308 goals against average, and an 884 save percentage. On the Chicago side, I'm probably going to get there with a little bit of ownership solely as a Carter Hart fade. A little bit of Bedard and Burakovsky, and probably a little bit of that second line as well. Again, I think that, like you said, that Hart's numbers have been terrible. 2 goals against on 14 shots in his first game, 3 goals against on 26 in his second game, 4 goals against on 16 shots. in his third game played. So it's definitely going to be a bit difficult for him getting back into the swing of playing regular NHL minutes.
Yeah. I feel like playing Chicago and Bedard at this point is more or less a Brock fade as well. He's kind of slowly turning into my new David Pastrnak. I brought this up while you were chatting. This is just the point distribution for the Vegas Golden Knights over the last 10 games. It's you can see it here. It's very even. You got Eichel at a point per game, Hurdle 8 points, Theodore 8 points, Bowman 7, Dorofeyev, Marner, Riley Smith, like all just everyone's picking up 4, 5, 6 points over 10 game sample. So everyone's kind of getting on the board. Let's break down the final game of the night. We got the LA Kings hosting the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, Kings coming in as the favorites here tonight, minus 116 on the money line, 3.0 implied total for them, 2.8 for the Capitals. Washington grading out well here in this game. Top line coming in at 7th overall on the slate. Washington 2 coming in at 10th overall. LA 1 coming in at 31st overall, and that second line for the Kings coming in at 39th. Worth noting that, they've blended the lines back up to kind of what they used to be, and it's probably taken away much of the interest that I've had in playing the LA Kings. The matchups aren't great across the board here in this game. Average to slightly above average on the Kings side, and a bit below average for the Capitals side. It's got a decent pace score. I just don't know if this is a game that's going to have, a really high scoring feel to it. These are two teams that are incredibly solid at 5-on-5, not only offensively, but defensively as well. I guess the Kings have kind of had their struggles in terms of their offensive generation this season here. I think I'm going to get to a little bit of this Capital side of things tonight. Offensively, they've just been running so hot as of late. That second line continues to be really solid. I think I'm going to get there with a little bit of ownership, but the public isn't really playing this game a whole lot either. Honestly, for me, I think the more appetizing way to kind of attack this game is just through the goaltenders. Darcy Kemper and Logan Thompson, I think, are both very viable plays here on this slate tonight. I think this one's pretty simple to break down. I just don't really have a ton of interest in it. A little bit on this Capital side. I don't think that I'll be getting there on the King side tonight.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think this is just two really good defensive teams. I can't imagine this is a very high scoring game. It's a 5.5 total. Both teams grade out tremendously well on D. I agree. I think Darcy Kemper, a little bit of early season struggles behind him now, 5-1-2 with a 926 save percentage in his last 8 games. Logan Thompson had, a couple stumbles there in the middle of November. Last 3 games have been outstanding on the season, 916 save percentage, only giving up 2 goals a game. Two very good goalies, 2 very good defensive teams. I don't imagine there's a lot of goal scoring in this one. I might get there a little bit as a late or later slate play, obviously, but outside of that, I probably won't get to it a whole lot. Let's just continue with the goalie chatter here as we break down the goalies indeed to get out of here. But yeah, Kemper, 7,900. Where's Logan Thompson? Logan Thompson, 7,500. He feels like a great play. This is a Kings team that's really struggling to score. I like the Kings to win this game, but from a DFS standpoint, I think that Logan Thompson makes some sense at $7,500. It's basically a toss-up game. So those two, I am definitely interested in. I definitely want to get to Devin Cooley tonight. I definitely want to get to Jeremy Swayman. I think the Red Wings are huge favorites tonight. I think it's a little crazy. Swayman's been literally maybe the best goalie in the NHL as of late. Wallstead probably has something to say about that, but Swayman's been at least right up there, top 3. He's been outstanding at $7,100. The Red Wings at times can get hot, but they're not a team, I don't think, that you need to be a $7,100 goalie against. That's especially the way he's played. He just makes a lot of sense there. I'm a little surprised that Joseph Wool's got higher ownership than Swayman, but Wool's played really well. If you need some other salary relief options, I think he's good. I think you can certainly get there with Wallstead as well. I don't think it's a safe play, obviously, but at $7,400, he is probably live to see the most volume of anybody on the slate. If he has one of those outstanding performances, it could be a GPP winning performance for you. So really like him. Some of these other cheaper guys, I think you start to get a little bit too risky here. I'm sure you could get to Spencer Knight. It just doesn't feel worth it. This is probably the guys I've got highlighted, or probably where I'm going to live. I think the only other guy I would probably add into the mix is Casey DeSmith at $7,900. Really interested there. The pay up options don't feel great. I'm certainly not getting to Carter Hart as the most expensive goalie on the slate. Wedgwood just doesn't feel necessary. Gibson's just way too pricey. I could maybe get to some Vasi as the highest I would go.
Yeah, I'm pretty much fully in agreement with you on goaltenders tonight. I was going to throw Vasi into that group that you got there. I think he feels fine. I don't mind the idea of a little bit of Spencer Knight at $6,900 as a potential chalk busting option there too. But I think this group that you got highlighted is absolutely nails.
All right, let's get to some defensemen now as well before we close out the show with our head-to-head and our hat-trick pick challenge. So Darren Radish, we talked about him. The price tag's coming up, and he's been unbelievable. He continues to grade out really well. Sam Linsky, one of my favorite D punts, correlates, with Colorado 1 and in Colorado 2 a little bit. Obviously, Colorado 3 as well. Doesn't play with any one of them a ton, but $2,800, he does a lot of shit, and he's just been really, really valuable this season. Charles-Edouard Datus continues to be one of my favorite names to say, and also a very good value. I've been talking about Jan Kuznetsov. He plays a ton for a minimum price defenseman. I don't mind that. Nick Blankenberg continues to grade out well. Nikita Zadorov, I think, just playing monster minutes at $2,900 is fine. In terms of ownership tonight, Brant Clark projects to be the highest owned defenseman on the slate, 4K. Does a lot of stuff. Also projected to be on that top power play unit. It just doesn't feel like the best game environment there. Like, I don't mind clicking on him at 4K for a decent floor and obviously some upside, but there's a reason he's being moved up to that top power play unit. Obviously, he's talented, but that's just a top power play unit that's struggled all season. I don't think that this is the moment where all of a sudden against the Capitals, things start to get going for them. Is Radish in tonight? I believe he's still a game time decision, but I think he's in. I'm pretty sure he was on the ice for the optional skate this morning, last time I checked. Which signifies that he's back with the team and expected to play tonight. Between Swayman, Bobrovsky, and DeSmith, who would you start? If I had to pick one of them, probably DeSmith. If I had to pick two of them, Swayman and DeSmith. How about you?
Yeah, I would agree with you on that front. Probably Swayman over DeSmith for me.
Okay, let's keep going. Any defenseman that I haven't highlighted that you like tonight?
Not really. I think you nailed most of them. I mean, I think it's really fascinating to see this ownership coming in on Clark. I don't know if I'm going to get there at 16%. Personally, I would rather just pay up an extra $100 for Darnell Nurse, or save $200 and go with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I think that's just as an equally as solid play there tonight. I don't really think I have a whole lot to add here in terms of defensemen. One other one I'll just throw out there really quickly: Rasmus Anderson. He has been tremendous as of late, running red hot right now.
Yeah, and a good matchup, obviously, with the Preds. I think that another guy that I've been playing a lot of is Noah Hannafin, just way too cheap for as much shit as he does on the ice. And yeah, like when you look at that Brant Clark, like, yeah, he's on power play 1, but again, a power play the units that's struggling, not a great power play matchup. Like, save $100 to go to Noah Hannafin. All right, let's get to tonight's hat trick pick challenge while I pull up the head-to-head. Zach, why don't you take it away? Who's your hat trick pick for this evening?
Gonna go with Leon Draisaitl.
Okay, didn't give me much time to get to the head-to-head, so thank you for that. Okay, my hat-trick pick. Give me Sam Reinhart tonight. I think that's a good matchup for them with the Leafs in town. And if Joseph Woll is going to be popular, why not? Okay, head-to-head time. I won again yesterday. I also met the minimum cash line in the $20. Zach narrowly missing the cash line, so he is still held without a point on the season. I'm up 3-0. If you missed it yesterday, the new scoring system, you get 1 point if you beat the guy, and you get another point if your lineup cashes. If we both cash, we each get a point, and then the highest lineup gets an additional point. I will go first since I won yesterday. I have got a full stack of Colorado 1. I've got McKinnon, Netchas, and Lehkonen, and I also have a full stack of Vegas 3. So Hurdle, Dorfe have really, really good numbers. Like the matchup here with Chicago. Initially, I was kind of trying to mix in somebody else other than Brandon Saad. He doesn't feel great. So my initial build, I had like somebody like Yanni Gourde in there, who's got a pretty good floor at his price tag, which probably makes a little bit more sense. And then I had Ben Hutton in on the blue line to correlate with Vegas, but I ultimately wanted to get Charles-Edouard Datus in the lineup, so I did Sam Linsky in there as well to correlate with my Colorado, and then I got Jeremy Swayman between the pipes, just way too cheap. Who do you got tonight?
Yeah, obviously I had to get to some Colorado here. Nathan McKinnon, one-offing him tonight. Actually, I do have Malinsky on the blue line. Oh, I think I sent no, hold on. Never mind. I was looking at yours for a second there. Got me confused for a second. Nathan McKinnon, one-offing him, I think is a tremendous play here tonight at 10K. Got a little Tampa 1 mini stack of Brandon Hagel and Nikita Kucherov. Feels like they're in a nice spot here tonight. Another mini stack of Luke Evangelista, Nick Blankenberg, Darren Radish, a little power play 1 correlation, and 5-on-5 correlation with that top line, and Nikita Kucherov. Logan Thompson between the pipes tonight. Like the idea of getting to Bowman here at $3,600. He was somebody that I put into that late utility slot right off the bat here. And then I needed somebody that was under $2,900 and landed on Brett Howden. Don't feel the best about it, but kind of going a little bit stars and scrubsy here with this lineup.
All right, we said we needed to get this done in 45 minutes. It's been 50 minutes exactly. So I think that's pretty decent. One more quick look at ownership tonight. Colorado 1, Vegas 1, Detroit 1, Vegas 3, Montreal 1, Detroit 2, Vegas 2, Florida 1. Edmonton 2, Edmonton 1, great note at the top 10. I got to be honest with you. I didn't even look at ownership before I built. I didn't have time to look at ownership. I didn't realize how chalky my lineup was until right now. Vegas 3, the 4th highest owned line on the slate. Not a ton of ownership, obviously, but fairly chalky builds for me tonight. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. This channel is growing. The season-long stuff is doing well. The DFS stuff, you guys have been riding and dying with us for years, and hopefully you're winning lots of money with us today. Please join the DFS Discord. Link is in the description. Come on in, join the fun. And then also, if you want to get $20 off your first month of RotoGrinders Premium, shout out to them for providing projected ownership for today's show. Link in the description. We'll get you $20 off there, and then 20% off Action Network Premium if you want to up your betting game with Action Network Premium. That link is in the description as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We got a 5-game slate tomorrow, and we'll see you back here then. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.